Due
to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you're gonna dig this.
The Maestro.
Fist hits the bag, 1, 2, and comes back. Single fist here. You hear that beat?
Think outside the box, and VO Xing on top of them, clocking them, send them back to the corner for oxygen. Golden gloves, I know myself, I know the game, it's not a game, I know the ring, I want the belt. Finding the rhythm to hit them, split them, and touch them, and tip them, hit that six-pack, with that quick jab. Uppercut the bro, making them fall down, breaking them all down, switch stands, tippy toe, in the hands, give some more. And now Muhammad Ali, anomaly, or Mayweather, Pacquiao, prodigy, in the midst of fist, this, S2, hot to rock, think out the box, you know I got the rock, speed back.
That would be a little round.
Gorilla than the planet of the apes. I ride a punchline and plant it on your face. Eat a punch that you ain't even got to taste. Here's a shot that you ain't even got to chase.
And happy Saturday, everyone. This is Maestro, joined by my very good friend, Mr. Joe Habib. You know, I like to do the intro music, Joe, but I don't want to make light of what's going on. So I got my more, cinematic, dramatic little background music here, because we're going to be talking about a very serious issue that I don't think really people have been taking quite seriously, Joe. I know you've taken it seriously because we've spoken about it. I'm definitely taking it seriously. And what I'm taking seriously is the likelihood that Gervonta Tank Davis is likely going to be going to prison. And when it comes to the discussion of the Ryan Garcia fight, even when it comes to the discussion of the Hector Garcia fight, a lot of people are really putting this part of, what's going on into their analysis. This dude's facing some serious time, Joe. And the fact that, they're overlooking Hector Garcia, talking about Ryan Garcia, and totally dismissing the fact that there are a number of charges that we're going to go over. There's a lot of prison time that we're going to discuss. And let's get right into it, Joe. So top of the morning to you. How you doing, fam?
I'm doing good, man. It's very kind of bizarre to me listening to those journalists yesterday, even guys like Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell on the Showtime broadcast after the weigh-in, Brian Custer doing interviews with Tank. And a lot of them are talking about these outside distractions. Tank, how are you doing? How are you getting through this? How are you able to train? And the way they're framing it as if he's the guy going through something, when really the people that had to suffer as a result of these horrific things that he's done outside the ring, these are the actual people who are suffering, not Tank Davis. So everyone seems to be, not everyone, I hate using that word everyone, strike that last word. A lot of people seem to be minimizing everything that Tank has done that has been very bad outside the ring. Like, for instance, when he snatched, that woman up out of the chair during the celebrity basketball game. Oh, he didn't grab her by the throat. He just grabbed her by the collar and lifted her up out of her chair. He didn't hit that woman. She recanted, right? She recanted her statement, but no one can explain the bloody lip. But here's the thing. They're trying to buy their way out of every wrongdoing that they've committed, right? But this whole hit and run they're not going to be able to buy their way out of that one, because the woman, I know you're going to go into everything, but what the woman had to go through, that woman had to go through in that incident, you can't buy your way out of that. So, people are trying to sweep all this stuff under the rug, but there is a high likelihood and probability that this man is going to jail come February, when the court date, the whole court date plays itself out.
No, you're absolutely right, Joe. And we're going to get into the charges. But before we do that, I want to, hear from the man himself talk about this. Did an interview with Brian Custer. A lot of people have actually done interviews with Tank Davis. Actually, before I show the interview with Brian Custer, Joe, give me a general sentiment about how the media has been handling this and how the media has been talking to Gervonta Tank Davis.
They seem to be really downplaying it, and it's almost an afterthought that this thing is going to get taken care of with Tank suffering little to no punishment. Everyone's assuming that, he's going to go on probation. He's going to pay some type of fine. And I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I'm not going to bring their name into it because I hate name dropping. But someone says, well, he'll probably contact the woman, just pay her off and she'll drop the charges. But I said, listen, brother, first of all, that's not going to happen because she's already said that no amount of money she'll accept for what she had to go through. She wants him punished. That's number one. And number two, there's already a court date in February, right? There's already a court date set for February. So he's going to have to, face these charges, and he's going to, he's going to have to be judged in court by a jury of his peers, right? And there's going to be a judge that's going to be involved with the whole situation. So he's going to have to face these charges. So everyone thinks that he can just buy his way out of this. Everyone's minimizing it. Everyone's talking about this Ryan Garcia fight that's supposed to be scheduled for April, right? But I just don't think it's going to happen. I've said right from the jump, it's not going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. And just the problem I have with everyone seems to be so accepting of this behavior from Tank Davis. And I don't wish bad on anyone, but again, this guy needs to be punished, man. He needs to be punished, bro.
Well, let's listen. Let's listen to the man in his own words, and hear what he has to say about it, and then we'll continue the discussion and go in. Here we go. This was from the Last Stand with Brian.
That's right. It is the Last Stand. We bring you the biggest names in the sport. Man, joining me today is one of boxing's biggest draws. I mean, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world champion himself, Gervonta Tank Davis, back with us on the Last Stand. So, man, it certainly has been an interesting time for you. With everything whirling around you, even from a legal perspective. How were you?
How were you able? How were you able? And this is what I'm sorry. I'm not. This is what aggravates me. Like,
go for it.
This is what aggravates. How were you able? The victim was injured so badly. She had such blunt force trauma to her abdomen, and she was pregnant, right? She was pregnant. She still is pregnant, not was, right? She is pregnant, and she suffered such blunt force trauma that she had to get her gallbladder removed. And who knows what's going on right now with the pregnancy? We can only hope. We can only hope that nothing happens to that baby.
All day long, I hear we got to protect our queens. We got to protect our children. We got to protect. But then I don't really hear a lot of men standing up to do much protection, to be honest with you, Joe. And again, like, these are serious charges. Let's remember what the charge is. He is charged with hitting a car with people in it and leaving the scene of an accident. And one of those people happened to be a pregnant woman. So, but again, it's more, look, I got to run that back. Here we go.
So, man, it certainly has been an interesting time for you.
Interesting time.
Interesting.
I mean, that's an interesting way to put it. Be honest.
With everything whirling around you.
Everything whirling around you,
like all these things just popped into thin air. He was a victim of bad circumstance that he had no way of creating it. He had no involvement in the creation of these incidences. I mean, shut the fuck up, man. Please, Brian. Stop. Take this guy's ball sack out of your mouth, Brian, please.
Rude Dog 211. Salute to you, brother. Thank you for joining us. I'm actually intending to hit the bell for Rude Dog. Let me do that again. All right, so No, we're not talking about the allegation of the domestic assault. We're actually talking about the more serious, actually I shouldn't say more serious, but it is quite serious actually, allegation of the hit and run that's still looming. And we're going to talk about that, but it's like there's so much stuff actually, Rude. It's kind of hard to keep track, to be honest. I mean, yeah, but no, Joe and we're actually going to go in on the hit and run case because that's right around the corner, and we'll get into all of the more details. But let's continue this, and it's interesting to me, right? Because we're going to talk about Skip Bayless and Shannon later in the show. I've been finding that back and forth very funny, and you know, it's the dismissal of an important matter of the guy. People are upset with Skip because he's dismissed kind of the importance of what happened on the field and didn't really show much empathy. Are we really seeing much empathy here for a pregnant woman who was the victim of a vehicular assault that could have been manslaughter, but that's definitely hit and run? Because, you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, you leave the scene of an accident, you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what's going to happen to the pregnant woman. You don't know if she's going to make it to the hospital or not because you just left. But here we go.
Maestro,
Legal perspective, how
Go for it.
one last thing. He was driving without a license. His license was revoked. Why was his license revoked? What did he do to get that license revoked? I haven't found that out yet, and I'm trying to research why his license was revoked. Was he driving under the influence? Did he do something egregious? Was it a serious traffic offense that they had to pull? Is he a habitual traffic offender? Why was his license pulled? That's what I want to know.
It's a very good question, but you know what, Joe? You know, I'm going to do a quick production change here, and I got to give the viewers here some credit here because look, we probably should go over what's happened here just to give everybody an idea of exactly what the charges are that we're talking about before I continue with Brian Custer. So let me actually go to the actual charges first so we can go through them. All right, and get everybody here on the same page. So Gervonta Tank Davis, and this is according to Boxing Scene, this is from back in March 2022, all right, was charged with 14 counts of traffic violations from alleged hit and run in Baltimore. So from alleged hit and run. All right, Gervonta Davis will now have to speak to charges implicating the boxer in a hit and run incident, which left 4 people injured. The Baltimore City's state attorney's office has charged the unbeaten 2-division titleist with 14 counts of violations stemming from a November 2020 hit and run in the boxer's hometown. The most serious charge suggests Davis allegedly fled the scene of an accident involving bodily harm, 4 counts, along with driving on the highway while his license was suspended and revoked, each of which separately carry a maximum 1-year sentence. All right. And then, I mean, they have all 14 charges here. I mean, it's a lot. So that's actually what we're talking about. And one of those victims, as Joe brought up, all right, is a pregnant woman. All right. And so that's kind of the main thing here that's up for discussion. Look, who knows what's going to happen with the incident involving the mother of his children? Go for it, Joe.
Under the Maryland Transportation Code 27-113, leaving the scene of an accident resulting in serious bodily injury is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a fine up to $5,000. If the accident results in death, hit and run carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. So the fact that he injured this woman, right? He injured this woman, and having that injury, blunt force trauma, so badly that you have to have your gallbladder removed. That's very rare. That you'd have to be injured very seriously for your gallbladder to be damaged, that it has to be removed. And if your gallbladder is injured like that and causes inflammation in your abdomen, you could die from that, right? So she was facing such pain in her stomach, and plus, again, she's pregnant, right? So what's going to happen to this baby? How? I mean, again, we wish the best for the child, But it's not only her you have to worry about, it's the child. And then she injured her knee very badly. And she's going through rehab right now for her knee. She can't even work right now. So this is something that's going, and she was told by doctors that she'll never be the same again. Never be the same again. So what amount of money is going to make this woman whole right now?
Oh, well, that's a good question, because apparently she hasn't accepted a payoff.
And the prosecutor will not let him.
We're gonna get to that right now, because I have the report right here. Okay, this is a report from September the 21st of last year. All right, Gervonta Davis set for December 12th trial after judge rejects plea deal in alleged hit and run. All right, and it goes in to give more details, both about the severity of the incident and why the judge rejected it. And the main reason the judge rejected it, Joe, is because it didn't include any jail time, didn't include any prison time. Joe, you already read off the maximum penalties, all right? You add those up, it's quite a few years. And given the testimony given by the victim, the pregnant woman, the judge was not inclined to co-sign a deal that would allow Davis not to have to serve time after these essentially admitting to what he had done. So, I mean, the acceptance of a plea deal is an admission of fault, is it not, Joe?
100%. And the fact that they were supposed to go to court in December and they asked for a continuance so it can get pushed back to March, to me, it seems like they're just delaying the inevitable. And this is what Tank Davis's legal team initially asked for. They had a plea deal that sought no jail time, including 2 months of home detention and unsupervised probation, right? What is that, bro? That's like nothing. Floyd Mayweather went to jail for 2 months for doing significantly less than what Tank Davis is being charged with right here. Again, everyone wants to sweep this under the rug. Tank Davis has had multiple incidences outside the ring. He faced assault charges before. He paid someone $250,000 when he assaulted somebody at an ATM machine because he was angry. He had to wait in line to use an ATM machine, and he hit someone at an ATM machine, and he was able to settle that out of court for $250,000, right? But once again, this is the problem you guys don't understand, because you want to minimize everything that Tank does, and oh, keep your head up, champ. Oh, you'll get through this. Yeah, he'll get through this because you guys think he's going to get through this, but it's never going to end if you try to keep minimizing and normalizing this behavior and not have this guy take accountability for what he's done. He's already paid off people before. 4 of the victims in this accident accepted money, right? But this lady is not accepting the money. And nevertheless, regardless of even that, the prosecutor is not going to let him walk away from this. He's not going to let him walk away from this. He's got to face his day in court, and he's got to be charged. He's going to have to do jail time.
No, Joe, correction, Joe. The prosecutors, unfortunately, were going to allow him to get away with this. It was the judge that wouldn't agree to the plea deal that would have put this under the rug, right? And again, people are talking about the Ryan Garcia fight like he's not fighting Hector Garcia tonight. And they're talking about the Ryan Garcia fight as if he's not facing trial for these charges. Now, I'm going to go to another report from Boxing Scene. Shout out to Keith Heidick. Shout out to Jake Donovan. Shout out to my man Hans Demisto, who all work over there. It's one of my favorite websites, and I really do respect and all of the people that work there, and especially when I see them at these fights. So this again was from December the 28th. All right. Gervonta Davis arrested in Broward County, Florida, awaits hearing on domestic violence charge. But we're not talking about this one. But what was interesting in this article is that the article makes clear that the 28-year-old southpaw is still due to stand trial. Remember, the judge refused the plea deal, so he's still due to stand trial on February 16 in his hometown of Baltimore, where he faces multiple misdemeanor charges for his alleged involvement in a November 20 hit and run incident. His legal team attempted to present a plea deal agreement that was reached with the Baltimore State's attorney's office, but it was still rejected by a Baltimore City circuit judge on September 22. So that's where we are. Go for it, Joe.
I have to correct them. See, even again, shout out to Keith Iddick, but even they're trying to minimize it. He is facing criminal charges because that woman was injured. Okay, that is a criminal charge. That is not a misdemeanor. I just read it to you. That is not a misdemeanor.
And the reason the judge was swayed to not allow any plea deal that didn't involve prison time is because of that woman's testimony in court. It was so moving. And Joe, describe what she had said, because you talked about it on the past broadcast. What she said she experienced the night of that accident, specifically face-to-face with Gervonta Tank Davis.
I want to read the exact, see if I can get the exact quotes here, because I want to just show you how serious it was. Because I have the exact quotes here. Let me see.
Essentially, while you're looking it up, I'll paraphrase it. She essentially said Gervonta Tank Davis looked her in the eye, saw she was in pain, saw she was crying, and walked away from the scene of the accident. That's essentially what I remember you describing when we spoke about it, and what I remember you discussing when you talked about it on your channel, Joe. And by the way, make sure everybody check out Ringside Reporter Live. I assume most of you are subscribers over there. All right. But if you're not, check out Ringside Reporter Live. Joe Habib goes live every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, with Eric Lorda, my guy Eric Lorda out of Ohio. All right. And they got one of the best shows that discusses boxing. Okay. Ringside Reporter Live. Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Make sure you subscribe. All right. And also, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. Do us a favor. Hit that like button so that you're notified. All right. Every time I go live, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. There you go, Joe.
So listen to this, man. Smith was pregnant and begged Davis to help her get out of the mangled car so she can get home to her daughter. She said Davis grabbed his belongings and left the scene. Smith said her knee is significantly damaged. She is going through extensive physical therapy, and a doctor said she'll never be the same. She also had to have her gallbladder removed. I'm just trying to get myself back to normal, but the doctor says I'll never be back to who I was. So her life will forever be altered and never be the same, right? Referring to the plea deal, Smith said, it's just unacceptable in my opinion, right? So she looked him in the eye with tears streaming down her face, right? She's mangled in that car, right? Who knows, if you're looking at that woman in that situation, and you're the one that caused her to be in that situation, and you're saying to you have to be saying to yourself, damn, man, she could be seriously hurt. I gotta help that woman. I gotta call 911, get an ambulance there as fast as possible. Because again, you don't know how hurt that woman is. You don't know how damaged that car is. You don't know if there is oil or gas leaking out of that car. But for him to just put himself first in that situation because he doesn't want to get arrested for driving without a license. And not only that, like the cameras from a local nearby convenience store caught everything on tape, right? And he also damaged property as well. But just ask yourself this. Just ask yourself this. Imagine if there was no video footage of what happened that day. What would have happened? Because he would have denied everything, right? He would have denied. How could a person with any type of conscience, how could a man, right, who supposed to have regard for human life, supposed to have regard for a woman in distress like that? I talk about this all the time. It's our instinct to want to protect women, not hurt women. So when we see them in distress, we want to help them. This man showed not bad character, not poor character. He showed horrific character, right? He showed disgusting character. I could never look at this guy the same again, man. I have like zero respect for this guy as a human being, bro. Sorry.
We're being asked to show video. I have no problem showing video of the accident. Let's have a listen. Let's go.
On to Davis. Sources say world boxing champ and Baltimore native Gervonta Davis was involved in a hit-and-run accident. The police department would not confirm if Davis was the driver, but WJZ has obtained video of a crash at the exact scene where this happened. And that's where we find Avajoy Burnett right now, live with more on this developing story. Avajoy.
Well, Denise, sources tell WJZ that Gervonta Tank Davis was in a Lamborghini truck when it crashed right here at this intersection. It's not clear if he was the driver or passenger, but we were able to get our hands on surveillance video. This is a video of a vehicle crashing into a fence at the corner of Martin Luther King and Washington Boulevards. Moments later, someone gets out from the driver's side. The passenger door also swings open. Then they appear to walk away. Sources tell WJZ world boxing champ Gervonta Tank Davis was in that vehicle, but police have not confirmed if he was the driver or passenger. Baltimore City Police say they got the call for a collision early Thursday morning, sometime around 1:50. The department says.
There you go. That's the video of the incident. I don't know if you guys need to see it another time. I'll show it one more time.
Surveillance video. This is a video of a vehicle crashing into a fence at the corner of Martin Luther King and Washington Boulevards. Moments later, someone gets out from the driver's side. The passenger door also swings open. Then they appear to walk away. Sources tell WJZ world boxing champ Gervonta Tank Davis was in.
Well, we know now that it was him driving because, you know, unlike other incidents involving celebrities, I'm guessing this case, they couldn't find a sycophant to admit or say that it was him. You know, there have been incidents in the past where there's a shooting and, you know, somebody decides to take the time for the charge, or if a gun was found, whatever the case may be. That clearly didn't happen here. So now we've gone over the incident. We've gone over the 14 charges. We've gone over the fact that a plea deal was offered that was rejected by a judge. We've gone over the fact that there's actually a trial for this in February. And we've discussed the fact that the media is kind of ignoring this looming trial and acting like, yeah, you know, it's got no impact on the fight tonight, and it's got no impact on a Ryan Garcia fight. No, there's a lot of impact, actually. People are just like acting like it's not out there. I just don't quite understand pushing all of this under the rug. I mean, I also don't understand Ryan Garcia even considering making this his next fight. I mean, why would this be your next fight? You don't even know if the guy's going to be able to fight. He's got a trial that starts next month. What's he going to do? Go to training camp and then go to trial? No, it doesn't work like that. He's not going to be able to train while he's going to trial. And then if he's convicted at that trial, there's going to be no fight. So Ryan Garcia should not be just sitting around acting as if this is the next fight that he's going to take. Find somebody else to fight. Then also, I find it very interesting that Rolly Romero was denied an opportunity to face Gervonta Tank Davis, who's obviously replaced with Isaac Cruz, all right, based on not a charge, but an allegation that was out there, one that was later debunked. Whereas we've got 14 charges. We've got a judge refusing a plea deal. We've got a trial date set in February. And then we also had another incident, right, in Florida. And the fight's continuing. Like, there's just no consistency whatsoever. And, you know, I'm going to bring up now that we've laid the foundation for this Brian Custer interview, and it's not to pick on Brian Custer. We could have done ES News. We could have done Luke Thomas. We could have done a whole other group of people. You know, but it's like this is the level of seriousness that all of these incidents are being treated with. Let's have a listen real quick And again, we're going to go back to the beginning of this interview now that we've laid the foundation. Anything else to say before I do that, Joe?
No, let's let Brian Custer and the rest of these guys, embarrass themselves. Sorry, I like,
Brian Custer.
That's right. It is the last stand. We bring you the biggest name in the sport. Man, joining me today is one of boxing's biggest draws. I mean, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world champion himself, Gervonta Tank Davis, back with us on the last stand. So,
oh, you're muted, Maestro.
Gervonta Tank Davis back with us here on the last stand. We're so excited. Let's talk to this guy who's accused of leaving a woman in a car crash. Let's go. I'm so excited to do this. Let's go. Gervonta Tank Davis. Come on now.
Oh, man, it certainly has been an interesting time for you with everything whirling around you.
So interesting. There's so much whirling around. All of these 14.
Poor Tank Davis.
Poor Tank Davis. All of these 14 charges, right? We also have a pregnant woman who was left at the scene of an accident in a crying and mangled mess to the extent that she needed surgery done on her bladder, right? A pregnant woman. All this is just whirling around, right? This is incredible.
Even from a legal perspective, how were you able to?
Even from a legal perspective, Joe, how's he able to do it?
Focus on this fight.
How's he able to focus on the fight? Now, the funny thing to me is Twitter was all over Skip Bayless for his insensitivity, right, to the NFL player that unfortunately suffered the incident during that game. It was a very unfortunate thing that happened. And yeah, Skip was being insensitive. But let me ask you something. Is this not insensitive? We're talking about a pregnant woman. She didn't sign up to play football. She didn't sign up for boxing. She was just going about her daily business and got hit.
Just actually my personal team, my coaches and things like that. They came to my house and we talked like men, and they gave me words that
they talk like men. Yeah.
Can I ask you another quick question?
Champ, Tank, you the champ, Tank. We're gonna handle this for you, champ. Don't worry about that pregnant woman, champ. Don't worry about those 4 charges, champ. Go for it, Joe.
Has he ever publicly apologized to that woman who had to face gallbladder surgery and injured her knee and had to go through all that? Has he ever made a public apology for that? Has he ever said one time, well, it was a horrible situation and my heart goes out to that woman who got injured? Has he ever apologized to that woman or showed any remorse or empathy for that woman that he injured? Has he ever went public in any of these interviews and said anything about that? Has he? No, I haven't heard it. And if someone can show me footage, I'll apologize. Not during one of these interviews has this guy said anything to show remorse and show empathy and show concern for this woman that he injured. We talked like men. Yeah. Did you really talk like men? Because you sure as hell not behaving like men. That's not how men behave. Real men take accountability for their actions. That's what we do.
Talk like Ben would have been, listen, man, what the fuck were you thinking leaving that pregnant
disgusting, bro?
Man, like, what the fuck? Like, we need to help you out. Like, look, what do we got to do to get your mind right? What do we got to do to take care of this woman and make sure she's taken care of? Like, I'm struggling to understand what the talking like men conversation was like when we're discussing the fact that a pregnant woman was left at the scene of an accident. I just don't get it.
Let me ask you a question, Maestro. And this is a very, very important question. Imagine if you and I were doing all types of crazy, horrible things out there, and we had a lot of resources economically where we just paid everyone off every time we did something wrong, right? That was our friggin' way to solve the problems, right? All these issues that we created for ourselves and all these people we've hurt and all these people whose lives will never be the same as a result of what we did as men. and we just paid all these people off to make it go away. Is that what real men do? Is that going to make us better as human beings? Are we going to stop doing these things? Because once again, if we're able to just pay everyone off every time we fuck up because we have the money to do so, what incentive do we have to get better as human beings? And how is that going to help in the long run?
I mean, this is like the Donald Trump Jr. treatment. This is like the Hunter Biden treatment. Let me just get daddy to take care of all of my problems. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. This is ridiculous. But again, this is the biggest media outlet that he spoke with. I'm not even talking about these sycophant YouTube boxing channels that ride as you know what.
I'd love
Pick me up.
I'd love to be at the press conference, and you know what my question was, Tank. Given all what happened, do you have anything to say to the victim of the car accident? What would you like to say to her and her family? I'd love to just say that. Any message for her and her family? She's going through a lot right now. What are your thoughts on her?
Right, but this is being treated, Joe, as some type of an afterthought, as some type of I don't know, maybe she's a nuisance, the pregnant woman. There's all these things just swirling around, you know.
Like this is an inconvenience for us that we have to deal. Like Brian Custer, I'm sorry, man, he should be ashamed of himself. I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. He should be ashamed of himself.
I mean, he's an older black man. I mean, you know, I understand he's involved in an interview, but can you not hold this man to account? Like you're old enough to be his father. All right, you can ask him a couple hard-hitting questions. Let's go.
Words that pick me up and things like that. So I kept focused, and I felt as though this is just a hump in the road, and it'll get past.
Does it?
A hump in the road, Joe. So again, Joe, do me a favor, please, as I put you here. Remind people what the injuries were.
This young woman, this pregnant woman, was hit so hard by Tank Davis's vehicle, and she suffered blunt force trauma to her abdomen so badly that she had to get her gallbladder removed. And it's very rare that you'd have a gallbladder removed. If you would have, I did the research, and if you were to go look up all the times that someone had their gallbladder removed and have, you know, look at the records and see how many times someone had to get their gallbladder removed due to blunt force trauma injury, it's like 2%. So for him to do that, cause that injury to her, he had to have really, really hit that car hard, right? And for her to have to go to therapy for her knee because it was injured so bad, and for a doctor to tell her she will never be the same again. And this is a bump in the road. If I did something like that to another human being, a pregnant woman no less, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I really wouldn't. I'd feel like a piece of shit. And I would do everything possible to try to fix the situation. I could never fix the situation, but I would do everything possible to try to comfort that woman and ask for her forgiveness. Really. He's shown no fucking remorse, guys. You think a judge is seeing all this? He's showing no remorse. He's taking no fucking accountability for this. Asking for a fucking plea deal. Asking for fucking house arrest.
No jail time.
And unsupervised probation.
Yeah, well, you just go to the gym, right? But this is, again, you got a trial scheduled for February, right? You're talking about a fight with Ryan Garcia, and you're describing what happened as this.
It get past.
Does it?
I feel as though this is just a hump in the road, and it'll get past.
Does it bother you at all that, you know, listen?
And again, he's described what happened to this woman is a bump in the road. And let's hear what Brian Custer has to say, because maybe the next question is going to be a little hard hitting, right? It's time for the hard hitting follow up. Let's see what happens.
Dude, does it bother you at all that, listen, the old adage, you can't please all the people all the time.
You can't please all the people.
You not be able to convince some of the people.
What the fuck was that, Brian?
You can't.
You had a woman seriously injured in a car, and you're worried about pleasing people? What the fuck does that even mean, Brian?
Brian Custer's looks like he's struggling to spin.
Look at his eyes. Look at his face.
That man
he's in awe of it. He's in awe of this guy who seriously injured a pregnant woman for life.
Left her at the scene. He doesn't know
left her at the scene. Left her for dead.
Right, but
left her for fucking dead.
This was the opportunity to provide the hard-hitting follow-up to the question, right? Well, you're calling that a bump in the road, Tank. My understanding is that one of the victims was a pregnant woman that sustained life-changing injuries. What do you think about that? How does that impact you as you move forward with your career with all of these things looming? Now, I mean, you don't even have to be rude when you ask the question, but here we go.
Dude, does it bother you at all that,
Does it bother you at all?
Bother you?
Does it bother you?
What about bothering the woman who had to get her gallbladder removed and who's pregnant and we don't know the state of what her pregnancy is going to end up being? We don't know that. What about that, Brian? Like, Brian, you have kids. Tank, you have kids. Don't you care about the baby inside this woman's stomach that you caused blunt force trauma to? You don't care about that? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
And let's not forget, Joe, that this isn't the domestic battery charge. This is what happened before the domestic battery charge. This is the 14 charges prior to what happened in Florida, prior to that arrest. But here we go.
And it'll get passed.
It'll get passed for who? For the lady that was injured? The pregnant woman?
Does it bother you at all that, listen, the old adage, you can't please all the people all the time. Does it bother you that you may not be able to convince some of the people like, hey, look, that's not me, but they'll still won't believe even what you say?
That's just me of not being like I want to say a person that's like super loud and actually do a lot of media and things like that. And I think people they go off of once they past situations. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, we go off the report. We go off the video of the car crash with the Lamborghini truck. We go off the fact that a plea deal was rejected. We go off the fact, my man, that you got a trial scheduled for February, which is next month. We're going off that fact. Those are the facts. Those are all facts.
And
do you think then maybe you need to be more, let's say, vocal?
Yes.
Maybe people haven't gotten.
Maybe you need to be more apologetic. Maybe you need to take more personal responsibility. But no, the question is actually maybe you need to be more vocal about spinning what's been going on and painting yourself in a good light.
Maybe you need to stop fucking up at almost 29 years old. Maybe you need to stop going to ATM machines and punching people in the head. Maybe you need to stop choking 100-pound women by the throat and pulling them up out of their chair. Maybe you need to stop punching your girlfriend in the face. Maybe you need to stop fucking driving without a license. Maybe you need to, when you injure somebody in a car accident, do the fucking humane thing and make sure that they're all right. Those are the things you need to do. Being vocal is not going to erase all of that. Maybe you need to stop paying people off thinking that your problems are going to go away and you can buy your way out of everything. Maybe that's what you need to do, Brian. That's what he needs to do. All right? That's what he needs to do. And you need to ask fucking these things.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of journalism is this? And again, it's not to just pick on Brian Custer. This is just one example. I mean, there's Luke Thomas, there's Ellie Sekback, there's all of the outlets there. I didn't hear. Oh, I didn't watch everything. I don't know how Marcus Villegas from Fight Hub TV has handled this, or the guys that I work with at Fight Hype. But in the sit-down stuff, the one-on-one stuff that I've seen, it's this and worse.
And to know the real Gervonta Davis, I would assume.
Yes, I think I need to be more vocal on this. Build my.
Is he the PR guy right now, leading him into obvious softball questions and answers, or is he doing a job of asking?
This is basically a PR stunt right now, what Showtime is doing. This is why this interview was done right before the fight, hoping that this is going to help wash away all the negativity so they can get their pay-per-view buys. You know, if this isn't the real Tank Davis, right? And there's another Tank Davis, I'd hate to see what the real Tank Davis is if this is not the real Tank Davis.
Seriously.
How much worse is the real Tank Davis if this isn't the real Tank Davis?
A team strong enough where as though I have outlets to show that side of me. You know, it just people don't know seeing enough of Gervonta Davis, so they think that I'm just this maniac because I'm a boxer and I'm vicious in the ring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, absolutely. That's not absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What? No. Like, what? You got to be real about what's going on over here, Brian. It's not. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's not the fact that he's vicious in the ring. We love our fighters to be vicious in the ring. What we don't like our fighters to do is exhibit cowardness and irresponsibility when they crash into pregnant women and leave them at the scene of an accident.
It's fucking embarrassing. This is like embarrassing, bro.
You know, you watch all these documentaries on Netflix about these criminals, right? Who are sociopathic and show no empathy to their victims, right? Who have no concern for the suffering of the people that they've harmed, and who, quite frankly, make it all about them. I mean, I've seen now documentary after documentary after documentary on Netflix and other outlets about this stuff. And this is the same pattern of behavior. 100%.
Listen, I guess the big question is, you got this fight with Ryan Garcia. He's already said, look, man, I was going to fight in January, but bump that. I'm a train strictly for Tank. Why would you take another fight before you got this mega fight with Ryan Garcia?
Because I may be going to jail. That's why.
Yeah, and we're moving on. Yeah, that's a good answer. And we're moving on, and we're just gonna address. We addressed it the first 2 minutes of the interview. We're not going to talk about this anymore. And now we're going to talk about a fight that may or may not take place, because guess what? Tank Davis has a pending trial scheduled for next month. 14 counts related to a hit-and-run accident involving a pregnant woman that required surgery after said hit-and-run accident. But yet we're not talking about the trial, right? We're talking about some fight with Ryan Garcia. Get the fuck out of here.
And then you're fighting in January, and then you're supposed to be fighting again in April. So you're going to just go right into a training camp?
No, what are you going to do? Doing training camp while in trial all day?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
And then you're going to go from that trial, right, where already a plea deal was rejected, which means that you pretty much admitted that, yeah, the evidence is overwhelming and I'm going to have to take a plea deal. So we're to believe that you're going to win this trial that's only taking place because the judge was unwilling to give you probation and supervised, not release, but a supervised whatever.
Unsupervised probation.
Unsupervised probation.
Right.
So the trial is only taking place because that plea deal was rejected. But we're supposed to believe that what you're going to win at trial and then go
in that trial. He's going to jail. He's going to jail.
Right. He's going to prison.
He's going to prison.
So
he's going to jail. I don't know if he's going to prison. He's going to jail.
So, but what we do know is that you got a trial scheduled. It's a trial for 14 counts that you already tried to plead to, but that plea deal was rejected, and you're going to trial for this. So you're likely going to be convicted. But yet we're supposed to believe as boxing fans that after being convicted, you're going to go what and train to fight Ryan Garcia? Really? That we're supposed? No, stop it. That's not going to happen.
He's going to jail, man.
Stop acting like this shit ain't real. Stop acting like this shit ain't serious. Showtime and everybody else, and keep it real with the fans. This fight is probably the last fight that Tank is going to have before he goes away to serve some time for leaving people, including a pregnant woman, at the scene of a hit and run. That's the fact, Joe.
It's that simple, guys. It's that simple. He tried to plea his way out, and they asked for, the plea deal that they presented to the judge was utterly ridiculous, man. Unsupervised probation, 2 months house arrest. So again, if you're going to have 2 months house arrest, how are you going to train for a fight anyways? Listen, they know they're not fighting Ryan Garcia next. They know that they're not doing. This is typical of the PBC playbook. We're just going to announce another fight with another guy. We're going to call out another guy who's hot in the division. Again, like, where's the fight going to be? What's the date? There's no date, time, and place. At least with Tyson Fury, you know that they're looking for March 4th, and it's going to be in Saudi Arabia or somewhere in the Middle East, right? This is just ridiculous that people think that this fight with Ryan Garcia is going to happen in April. It's not happening, guys. This fight is not happening with Ryan Garcia in April. He's going to jail. He's going to jail. No,
he's definitely going to be going away. And don't put your eggs in the Ryan Garcia basket. I'm sorry that it just doesn't. Going to jail. It does not make sense to do that. And I do got to address a comment I've been seeing that I totally disagree with. DAZN magazine says, or Kulo CCD says he read an article explain how boxers are known to have low IQ. No, I'm a former amateur boxer. I'm a teacher with 2 master's degrees. My co-teacher at my school is a current amateur boxer fighting at the elite level. He's got a master's degrees and he's a teacher. So I don't buy this whole boxers are low IQ. So what, we need to make excuses for boxers? No, I was in boxing. I don't have
do you need to have a high IQ to have human empathy and regard for human life and care about your fellow man and woman in this world? Is that required? Is that required to care about people and do the right thing?
Did Muhammad Ali have a low IQ? Did Sugar Ray Leonard have a low IQ? Did Vitaly Klitschko and Vladimir Klitschko, both with PhDs, have a low IQ? Did Lennox Lewis, who played chess at a very high level, have a low IQ? I could go on and on. I mean, maybe you haven't been around a lot of boxers, fam. Because I've been around boxers my whole life, pretty much. And I can tell you boxers don't have low IQ. Stop it. That's got nothing to do with it. So stop making excuses for the boy because he's a boxer. It just doesn't make any sense what you're saying. I'm sorry. Boxers do not have low IQs. In fact, if you ever box, you know how much of a high IQ you need to have to box, because the amount of things you need to do in the ring from a kinesthetic intelligence point of view is harder than most other sports. Most other sports.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's nothing low IQ about boxing.
Let me ask.
Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about a lot of boxing fans, especially the ones that are defending Gervonta Tank Davis right now.
Let me ask the people in the chat. Let me ask you. Let me ask everyone out there who's watching this video. How would you feel if that was your mother, your sister, your niece, right? Your aunt, your grandmother, your girlfriend, your wife, your friend? If that was any of the above that I just mentioned, how would you feel if that was the case, and it was one of those people in that car on that night, and what transpired happened, and someone you knew and loved was in that situation? How would you feel? How would you feel? How would you feel, Brian Custer, if that was your daughter in that car, if that was your wife in that car? How would you feel, Brian Custer, if that was your sister in that car, if that was your aunt in that car, if that was your mother in that car? How would you feel, Mr. Custer?
Pregnant. And what I'd like you to really address this comment.
Nobody defended Gervonta Davis. Oh, well, Brian Custer seems to be doing his best attempt at being a PR guy for Gervonta Davis in this interview.
100%.
Ellie setback.
According to Luke Thomas, I mean, according to Brian Custer, the real reason is that people don't know the real Tank. The real reason is he doesn't give enough positive messaging about his career. Those are the real reasons.
Maybe this just is the real Tank. And the reason why this is the real Tank is because he's been allowed to plea his way out of all of his charges, because he's been allowed to pay everyone off every time he does something wrong. Maybe this is the real Tank. So we'll get past it.
So there are a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about briefly, Joe. And anything else you want to say on the Tank Davis issue that we haven't covered yet?
I just don't think that I don't believe the Ryan Garcia fight's going to happen, and I quite frankly I don't think it should. I don't think Tank deserves that fight after all the shit that he's done. I just don't think he deserves it.
Based on what Showtime did to Riley, I don't even think he deserves this Hector Garcia fight.
Yeah, I don't think he deserves this fight either. I don't think he should be allowed to fight. I'm being honest.
Rolly didn't have one charge on him, let alone 14, and he was told he couldn't fight because of an allegation. Here we go. But Base the Kid. Salute to Base the Kid. Everybody make sure they check out Base the Kid's channel. That's my guy. He's not a casual. Don't let the name fool you.
That's why when you're on a jury, you're asked if there's anything that would prevent you from being objective on this case. And as a juror, you have a right to tell the judge that, and he'll more than likely get rid of remove you from the jury. So I've done that before in certain situations. I went to jury duty before, and the judge said, anyone raise your hand if you have any prejudice that you think will affect you being able to be unbiased and objective juror on this trial. And I raised my hand a couple times when I've had jury duty.
I want to give a big up to Mr. Ken Griffin. All right, he's a member of the channel. Thank you so much, Ken, for the membership. And everybody, consider a membership. All right, my show Mano a Mano with Kenny T is members only on demand. You can catch us live on Sundays, 12 p.m. Eastern. But if you want to catch the full show after that, it's going to be a members only. That's great content for you. Consider a membership. Consider a membership also to my brother right over here to his channel, Ringside Reporter Live. All right. Consider a membership, guys. They're not a lot. All right. And every little bit helps us provide you with the top quality content that me, Kenny T, Joe Habib, Eric Lorda provide you guys on a week-to-week basis. But definitely make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. Go, Joe.
And Base the Kid is correct when he said that. I'm not saying he's wrong, but think about this. Even the judge said she was so moved by the statement of that woman that right after hearing that, she immediately said, no, there's no plea deal here. So it's hard to not let emotion get involved in this. If you're, it's just hard, in my opinion. You have to not allow emotion to get into it, but as a human being, after listening to everything and after reading her testimony, the way she presented it, it's troubling. And yeah,
imagine if that was my wife. Imagine if that was my mom. Imagine if that was my aunt or my sisters, okay, or a daughter. I don't have a daughter, but if I did, imagine. I mean, her being in a car accident, pregnant. I'm here. I am thinking I'm going to be a grandfather, and the next thing you know, that's all in jeopardy because my daughter has gallbladder surgery because some guy left her, injured, severely injured after hitting her with his expensive truck.
That car was mangled too after he hit it.
So there you go. No, I don't think the title's clickbait. I mean, I think he's going. I think he's going to have to serve time. And we explained why with all the reports, Tony Ayo. So yeah, you can go back and check it out from the beginning. But speaking about emotional people, Joe, you know, I did a live the other day, and it got kind of heated because I was questioning something, and what I was questioning, Joe, was the idea that a lot of people's favorite heavyweight, Anthony Joshua, needs a tune-up to take on Dillian White. And I asked the question, what's next? And I had the answer, not very much. I mean, we hear it all the time, right, Joe? He's the best heavyweight. He's got the best record. He came up short against Usyk, who's a superior boxer. But, you know, he's going to bounce back. And, okay, I'm waiting for the bounce back, Joe. But if you're that guy, do you need to take a tune-up before fighting a Dillian White? And not just, like, not an undefeated Dillian White, but a Dillian White who's suffered a couple really bad knockout losses, all right? And a Dillian White who, let's not forget, struggled against Jermaine Franklin, of all people. Joe, what are your thoughts on the plan spelled out by Eddie Hearn on the DAZN boxing show that AJ's going to fight 3 years, hasn't done that since 2015 or 14. He's going to fight 3 years, first against a top 15 opponent as a tune-up, then Dillian White, and then Wilder or Fury to cap out the year. Go for it, Joe.
Yeah, I was under the impression that he was going to go right into a Dillian White fight. I think based off of Dillian White's last couple performances, and you look at Anthony Joshua's last couple performances, I again, people get mad when you say this, but you're actually giving AJ a compliment by saying that he should go right into the Dillian White fight, because if he needs a tune-up for Dillian White, then as a fan of Joshua, you're basically saying that he's not, you know, he's not ready for Dillian White right now. And by saying he's not ready for Dillian White right now, then there'd have to be something wrong with him. You'd have to question his ability to win the fight against Dillian White. Like, there's no reason why I think he shouldn't fight Dillian White. I don't see Dillian White beating him. I really don't. I think he'd be a significant favorite over Dillian White. So how much of a rebuilding process does AJ need? Do you as fans think that he's that damaged that he would need a tune-up fight? And how is he going to fight 3 times this year? Where it's January 7th right now, doesn't have an official trainer right now, still looking for a trainer. That's number one. And I guess that's one of the reasons why Eddie Hearn said that he needs a tune-up for Dillian White. I mean, I don't know. Dillian White just got a new trainer himself too. I mean, he's been bouncing back and forth trainers as well. So, and Dillian White just came off of a fight with Jermaine Franklin that I scored it a draw, right? Some people have Jermaine Franklin winning. I don't get it, man. Like, do you think that lowly of Joshua, that you think that he's regressed that much that he would even need a tune-up for Dillian White? That's the question.
The tune-up is Dillian White at this point. Dillian the tune-up.
Yeah.
The guy who I think is pretty much gatekeeper status in the sport at this point. With all due respect to Dillian, I mean, he's had a couple bad knockout losses, all right? And he just struggled. He went life and death with Jermaine Franklin. I mean, I don't see why you need a tune-up for a guy like that. And then the other thing that I find interesting, Joe, is that the use of the term top 15 opponent. Well, to me, when I hear top 15, I hear 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Otherwise, you'd say top 10. Otherwise, you'd say top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top 15 is definitely 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Am I wrong for saying that?
Not at all. Let's look at the top 15. See, let's look at potential opponents.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. So we're looking at AJ. We're told that he's going to come back against the top 15 level opponent. So to me, that means that you can discount these guys: Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, Frank Chances, Makhmudov, He's in the top 5 in the WBC, so you can't talk about him. Martin Bacoli is out. All right. I mean, it's the same names pretty much. Hergovich is out. Otto Wallin is out. All right. We're not looking at 6 through 10. So that would knock out guys like, again, Otto Wallin, Joseph Parker, Koso Gubutski, Trevor Bryan even, Lucas Brown even, Ajit Kabayel, Tony Yoka. So really what we're looking at, Joe, is 11 through 15. And really, this is what we're doing? I see one name there that I'd really like, and that name is Jared Big Baby Anderson.
That's not happening.
Sign me up for that, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to throw AJ in there with Big Baby. So again, you look at the top 15, which really means 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And what we're seeing here are Michael Hunter, Derek Chisora, who everybody was complaining about when Fury fought him. All right. Ajit Kabayel. All right. Jonathan Guidry, Jarrell Miller, Fabio Wardley, Ivan Dishko. All right. Dempsey McKean, Murat Gasayev, the former cruiserweight, Prince Charles Martin, who he's already beaten in probably the weakest fight that I've ever seen anybody win a world heavyweight title for. And then this is the name that stands out to me, Joe. Number 12 with the WBO, Zhilei Zhang.
He'll probably fight Zhang, I think.
Right. So when I hear top 15, that's I hear 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm sorry. I don't hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Otherwise, you'd say top 10. Yeah. All right. So let's go to some of the comments here real quick. Carlito's Way says, it's not a tune-up fight for White, it's a rebuild. What's the difference between a tune-up and a rebuild?
Same thing.
I mean, to me, rebuild is even more drastic than a tune-up, if you're asking me. If I take my motorcycle in for a tune-up, that's a little tune-up. If I'm taking my motorcycle in for a rebuild, isn't that a lot more comprehensive? Right? They're rebuilding the engine, they're rebuilding the braking system, they're rebuilding the fuel injection system. Whereas with a tune-up, they're just making sure everything's going right. Let me top off the oils, make sure everything's running smoothly. So you call it a rebuild, that's even worse as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to what Basic Kid said. Dillian is Anthony's mortal enemy. You don't go into that fight if your confidence or setup isn't right. If Fury and Wilder can do it, then why can't AJ? Joe, why don't you answer that question?
Anybody can do anything they want, but your confidence, as I said before, should not be that damaged where Dillian White would be a threat to you mentally. After seeing Dillian White get knocked out by Fury and have that lackluster performance against Jermaine Franklin, I don't see why you would have confidence problems going into a fight with Dillian White right now after you've already knocked him out one time before. So that's my opinion. So
boxing pound for pound, Jack claps back at that one. He says, mortal enemy who has gone to the shadow realm 3 times already. Absolutely.
I don't
come on, that's just excuses. Look, Base, I don't like to side against you, Base, but I'm sorry. Dillian White is a guy who's been knocked out multiple times, almost got knocked out by Joseph Parker, and who, again, went life and death against Jermaine Franklin. How do you need a tune-up for this guy, Joe?
Name one big fight that Dillian White really looked good in and had a stellar performance in. He struggled with everybody. He struggled with Joseph Parker. He struggled with Derek Chisora twice.
I thought Derek Chisora beat him the first time.
Everyone thinks Derek Chisora beat him the first time.
I thought Ian John Lewis got way too involved in the rematch.
We thought Dillian was going to raise his game in all of his big fights. We thought he was going to raise his game against Fury. We thought he was going to raise his game against Chisora. We thought he was going to raise his game against Parker. He just never looked good in these fights. He struggled in all these fights. And again, I thought Joseph Parker got a raw deal. I hate making excuses, but one of those knockdowns was from a headbutt, and it shouldn't have been scored a knockdown. If that was the case, then Joseph Parker wouldn't have lost. I mean, this guy squeaked by with everybody.
Shout out to the member, Ken Griffin. Everybody consider a membership and at least hit the like button, the subscribe button, and that notification bell.
And then he turns around and gets knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. How do you get knocked out by Alexander Povetkin?
40-plus-year-old Alexander Povetkin.
I mean,
turns backyard.
I just, no disrespect to Dillian White. He's a top 10 guy. He's a dangerous opponent for anyone, but you guys, a lot of these guys from the UK, with all due respect, you guys have overrated him significantly, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I just have to say it. I think you guys overrated him.
Carlito's Way saying he's out. That too much capping. I don't know. Where's the cap?
And it's you know what it reminds me of?
Where's the cap, Joe? There's no cap going on. There's no. You do not need. If you are that dude, you do not need a tune-up for Dillian White, a guy coming off a very close fight against Jermaine Franklin, a fringe contender. By the way, Jermaine Franklin was supposed to be a warm-up for Dillian White. Okay, and that was a nip and tuck fight the whole way through. He was the warm-up, Jermaine Franklin. So now you're telling me you need the warm-up for a guy who barely beat the warm-up, and I'm capping?
Yeah,
I'm capping, right? That's funny.
He ain't, and let me ask you this: is AJ really going to fight 3 times this year? How is that possible? How are you going to squeeze 3? Like, they keep changing. They seem so indecisive over there. First he's going to fight in December, then he's going to fight in February, then he's going to fight in March. Now he's going to get another trainer again. It's like, what are they doing with AJ?
AJ this is from Ken Griffin, the member. Thank you, Ken. He says AJ is mentally low. He needs a few fights to build up again.
Okay.
Then stop telling me he's this great heavyweight then.
How mentally low are you if you don't have the confidence to beat Dillian White or coming off his last few performances? Dillian White has not looked great.
He needs a warm-up to fight the guy that just barely beat a warm-up opponent. That's what I'm hearing. AJ needs a warm-up to fight the guy, Dillian, that just barely beat his warm-up in Jermaine Franklin. Like, this is where we're at right now. The amount, the mental gymnastics that's occurring right now with the AJ fans is beyond hilarious to me, right? It's beyond hilarious. White looked all right in the rematch with an old Povetkin. He had a post-COVID Povetkin.
All right. Yeah, he looked all right. Did he look great?
All right. All right ain't great. All right isn't great. Stephen T. White looked so off in that Franklin fight. I get it, was a new trainer, but that relentless high guard made it look like he was frightened to be chin checked. Absolutely. It's like they spent the whole camp teaching him how to block an uppercut, and then that's really all he was focused on. I mean, and you Americans overrated Wilder?
Overrated Wilder?
Oh, I didn't overrate Wilder. But, I'm be honest with you. Wilder's key, you always hear that AJ's record is so great. Wilder's record is so trash. We went over the record. I think we did that on your channel, right? Or was it on my channel? I think it was on my channel. On your channel. The record ain't there. The record, that ain't a gold record or a platinum record or a diamond record. The record is not that great, to be honest with you. The Klitschko win, 18 months off, 40-plus-year-old, at home. Klitschko did Klitschko and gassed out, all right, and got knocked out. It is what it is. It wasn't the best version of Klitschko. And since then, it's been downhill. Was that the apex, or was that the bottom of the mountain as far as you're concerned with AJ's career? Because to me, that was the apex.
He lost the first fight against Usyk on my card 9-3, and then in the second fight he lost 8-4, and he faded badly in the last quarter of the fight 2 times. So I don't know, man. Is he gonna be better moving forward, or is he going to get worse?
I mean,
I don't know, man.
Sorry, AJ's this dude, right? AJ's the best. AJ's got the best record of any active heavyweight. I've heard it all. Well, why the fuck is he taking on a tune-up to face a guy that just barely won a tune-up fight and who's been knocked out brutally 3 times? I mean, I didn't give Dillian White a 5-second stretch of any round in his fight against Tyson Fury. People were going off about Derek Chisora being such a bad opponent. I'm not going to cap. I'm not going to say that Derek Chisora was a good opponent for Fury, but at least they admitted that it was a tune-up fight. At least they admitted it was a keep busy, stay sharp fight. And by the way, that guy, Derek Del Boy / War Chisora, I thought he was more competitive against Fury than Dillian White was. But now you need a tune-up to fight Dillian, right, Joe?
Crazy. It's crazy.
Oh.
Wilder wanted to fight Parker, but Parker chose AJ instead. I don't blame him. Wilder was supposed to fight Povetkin. Povetkin tested positive for PEDs, but I did question why there was no rematch scheduled. But it is what it is. Now, is Povetkin any better than Luis Ortiz as a fighter?
No.
I think Luis Ortiz would have beat Povetkin.
100%. And who looked impressive against Dominic Brazil?
I mean, they fought Dominic Brazil, right? Who was the other guy they fought?
Eric Molina.
Eric Molina. They both fought,
right? I agree, Ken. I think Dillian is a good tune-up fight. That's my point.
I do think AJ's resume, you could argue, is better than Wilder's, but not significantly. I think slightly better than Wilder's. It's good, but again, they're all comparable. But I stand by my statement. Fury's biggest wins against Klitschko and Wilder are bigger than AJ's biggest wins. What are AJ's 2 biggest wins? Klitschko's
Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker's claim to fame at that point was winning a controversial split decision against Andy Ruiz at home. What was Joseph Parker's signature win other than that fight going into the fight against AJ?
Povetkin wouldn't have killed Ortiz. Come on, bro.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, really? Come on, base.
Povetkin should have lost to friggin' Povetkin had a draw with Michael Hunter. Yeah, and he had a majority decision against Marco Huck.
Not to mention the Huey Fury fight.
And the Huey Fury fight.
I mean, stop it. Like, come on, Base. I tell everybody to go to Base the Kid. I tell everybody to go and watch the Undefeated podcast and watch the breakdown. So you come on now. Carlos Takam. What about Carlos Takam? What's he's saying? Stop. Base is saying stop it. To who? To me or to both of us?
AJ does not have the best body of work. He's been more consistent, but he doesn't have the best body of work. Let base come on. Let's base come on.
I think Base said he's busy, but
he wants a link. He wants a link now. He wants a link.
Okay.
I mean, Base works for Matchroom, so of course he's going to defend AJ.
Base is my guy, so
I love Base, but he does get a check from Matchroom every week. It's not his fault.
Base is my guy, out there in London. By the way, I used to live in London. I
told Lady Chin we had this discussion, and I said, in fairness, AJ has been more consistent than the other two. But I do believe Fury's 2 signature wins are better than AJ's 2 signature wins.
I would say Fury's 3 biggest wins are bigger wins. Honestly,
I mean, did AJ look better? Did Fury look better against Dillian White than AJ did?
I mean, AJ's best wins are the rematch against Andy Ruiz Jr. Like, okay.
But I will say,
and Klitschko, those are the 2 best wins.
I will say AJ's resume is better than Wilder's. I will say that. I'll concede that point. Definitely concede that point. But I don't think it's like crazy. It's crazy better than Wilder's.
Well, while we're waiting for Base, I just want to quickly transition here, Joe, because I want your reaction. You're on a lot of panels, right? you're used to being interrupted a lot, as am I. And I had a lot of fun this week putting up compilations of one of my favorite sports talk shows, Skip and Shannon, Undisputed on FS1. And I want you to handle, or I want you to talk about how you might have handled this kind of situation.
New York Giants, and it did what it needed to do. Now those 2 drives, and you were still behind. And yeah, come on, Skip, don't do that now. You being real petty, bro. Let me talk. Let me talk. Said a word. I know you're doing them. Come on, that's childish. Your team's off. That is very childish. Let me talk. Your opinion is childish. Go ahead. Go. Go ahead. No, it's not. No. I'm not gonna go. Cause you doing this. I'm trying to talk to you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like a seriously? He's like a child, man.
It is my turn now. And here's what really happened last night.
Oh, man. Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. I don't know. Oh, shoot. I didn't send the link on my phone. I forgot to put the link in there. Oh, man. Come on, Skip. That's being childish. I could never imagine you making points and me going, But one thing I've noticed is that Dabib is one of the masters of keeping cool and calm when people are interrupting him. I had to do it on my panel the other day.
Sometimes, not always. Not always.
We're waiting on Base the Kid. We're waiting on Base the Kid. Base, you got 10 seconds, and I'm going to my next. And 5. Oh, here we go. Base has jumped in. Salute, Base the Kid. What's going on? He got the pro level headset on.
He's ready for battle right now. Look, he's got the hood on and everything. He looks like a Jedi warrior.
I am like halfway through my gym session, but I couldn't let this carry on. Like, all right. So look, first things first, right? Yeah. I'm not a huge AJ fan. I'll tell you that straight from now. I'm not a huge AJ fan. However, I do respect him. My point earlier was that him being in whatever level of confidence he has right now, whether you think Dillian is a true nut, let's not forget, again, that is his, what I called before, his mortal enemy, right? Let's look at Muhammad Ali and then look at Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier got washed by George Foreman, but yet when it came to Ali could never quite get the best of him in the same fashion, right? But yet you got the triangle phase. Now, I'm not saying that AJ can't beat Dillian in his current form now, but let's not act as if to him that's not going to be a make or break fight. So therefore, he needs to be in the right frame of mind. I don't see why there's any issue with him having a keep busy or a rebuild of new fight with a new set of trainers, because he doesn't have a training set up right now to get whatever rust off to then have a bigger fight in the summer. Why is he not allowed that, but yet everyone else can have their comeback fight against top 15 opponents? What's the difference?
Here's the thing, Base. You said a word that stands out to me. You said frame of mind, right? And boxers are human beings. They go through stuff, right? They have psychological ups and downs like the rest of us, right? Again, they're held to a higher standard. But here's the thing. You mentioned guys like Frazier versus Ali, but Ali and Frazier, they just like that style for Ali does not match up well. Like Ali will always, because of his style, will always have problems with guys who fight on the inside as well as Frazier. George Foreman matched up better against Ali because Foreman was more of a mid-range, outside to mid-range guy. He didn't fight the same way. He didn't collapse the pocket like Frazier. I'm going to be honest. I'm giving AJ more credit than you guys are. I think AJ, his style matches up perfectly with Dillian White's. I think Dillian White is made to order for AJ 7 days a week, especially this version of Dillian White. I just don't think Dillian White is nowhere near the level of AJ, even in his current state of mind. That's why, I just disagree that AJ has regressed as much as you guys are implying that he has. That's just my opinion.
I'm not saying he's regressed that much. What I'm saying is, for him, you got to remember, this is something for him. He can't afford any quote unquote slip ups against Dillian White of all people. Other people, when you've got that, you remember Amir Khan and Kell Brook? Amir Khan did everything else. to not have to face Kell Brook until it was way too late, because that's just the one fight you don't want to get shown up in just in case it happens. It's the exact same thing with AJ. Now, again, I think AJ beats him in his current form as well. And I'm a much bigger Dillian White fan than I am of AJ. I'm a much bigger Dillian White fan. I'm still a Dillian White fan now. He's my favorite heavyweight, regardless of whether people like him or not. But my point is, even knowing that AJ will still likely beat him in a match, I know that they both will train their hardest for this fight. This will be like, this is their end level boss type fight, just because of the big rivalry they have. I really feel, and AJ even said in an interview, he'd more likely want to fight Dillian White over Tyson Fury because of the history. So you do all of that, you know that that's his mindset for that. I need to be at my top. And if I don't even have a training set up right now, everyone else has had their warm up and they had their chance to kick off any rust or bed in with their new team. So why shouldn't I be able to do that before like the biggest fight I'm gonna have this year, or possibly maybe even for the rest of my career, from my own perspective? Forget everyone else, it's his perspective.
He can do whatever he wants, but I'm caught off guard a little bit by this move, because Eddie Hearn was showing every indication that White was next. When he was asked, is White next? Eddie Hearn said, yeah, it's more than likely that he is. Now Eddie Hearn says, well, because of the trainer situation, we needed a warm-up for Dillian White. So there just seems to be a lot of.
But then you have to take that up with Eddie. I mean, we don't know what the overall plan was, because their plan is gender fluid. It changes all the time.
Well, that's all about to say. The plan just keeps changing, and it's like, it just seems like they're out of sorts over there right now, and I don't know why. I don't know why they're so out of sorts over there. Like fighter, like when Wilder lost, they immediately knew what they were going to do, right? Now Wilder wants Joshua next, right? Yeah. And I guess they said that they don't want to do that fight right now, according to Shelley Finkel.
That's fine. When I hear all these excuses about why AJ need a tune-up before Dillian White fight.
I would say once that you guys are breaking.
That's what I want to do. Anytime someone tries to explain to me that Dillian to fight Dillian you need a tune-up, that's what I'm thinking. That's the noise. I'm turning into Skip Bayless when I hear that. This is insane.
Again, I just give AJ a lot more credit than a lot of these other people do. I just think AJ destroys Dillian White even now. I think AJ beats a lot of guys. I think he beats Hrgovic. I think he beats Zane. And here's the thing. I would pick Wilder to beat AJ, but AJ can most certainly beat him too. It's like it's that competitive of a fight where it's definitely a 50-50 fight. You could argue AJ's still in the top 3 right now, top 4, right? I just don't think AJ's that far gone, like everyone is implying that he needs to be totally rebuilt.
Seriously, and it's a little bit contradictory too, because it's like this guy's this killer in the sport. He's one of the best heavyweights out there. But wait a second, man. So he needs a tune-up for Dillian White.
I'm gonna be honest, I can't hear you guys at all. My shit is cracking up.
Okay,
can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you guys are all sounding like Android robots out here. I can't hear anything you're saying.
Yeah, you gotta. Maybe you're in a dead spot with your internet.
Base, we can do this. I'll come on your channel to talk about this if you want, or you can come back. We'll do it another time, because I do want your perspective about it.
Can you hear us now, Base?
I can hear you, Joe. Maestro, say what you just said again.
I was saying that we could do this another time on your channel, or probably.
No, because this is you guys' thing. It's not that big to me. It was just the. I mean, we won't talk about resumes. Well, look, the resume argument, we can break down everyone's resume, but I'll tell you this again, the same thing I was just saying in the chat before I came on. Like, no, Povetkin is leagues above Ortiz. I don't want to hear no foolishness about that. If you look at their resumes, there's absolutely no comparison there. You look at their amateur achievements and even their professional achievements. There's absolutely no comparison between Ortiz and Povetkin. You look at the level of competition both people have fought.
Time out.
And who they've lost to as well.
Time out.
I'll leave it there.
Henry Base, Henry Tillman has a better amateur background than Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson knocked him out in 1 round.
Give me a second, because see that was a nice little pivot by Base right there, little pivot. We're saying a 41-year-old Alexander Povetkin. We're not talking about the Olympic gold medalist or the guy that was boxing at a high level in his late 20s to through mid 30s. We're talking about the 41-year-old Alexander Povetkin that got knocked out. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I honestly do believe Luis Ortiz would beat Alexander Povetkin. I've seen Povetkin.
The 40-plus-year-old Ortiz versus the 40-plus-year-old
Alexander
Povetkin. That's
what I would pick Ortiz. Ortiz just gave Andy Ruiz.
I'm gonna leave where I'm at. I'm gonna come back. Hold on.
I just had Ortiz. I had Ortiz winning 6 rounds against Andy Ruiz. If he didn't get knocked down those 2 times, it would have been a draw on my card.
Absolutely. And you know what? What happens when you get older? You lose your legs, right, Joe? Correct. I mean, it is what it is. You lose your legs. So I don't know if Joe's going to come back for Base is going to come back. But look, one thing I did want to talk about today before we go, and maybe another time we can do it on your channel and talk a little bit more about this whole situation that's happening in the U.S. government right now. In the legislative branch, the Congress, with the whole election of McCarthy and the force to vote, and how people on the left side of the political spectrum in here didn't have the balls to do what people on the right side of the political perspective here are absolutely doing. But there's 2 other things I wanted to talk about. This being one of them, non-boxing. This is non-boxing, and we'll go to one that's boxing afterwards because it's kind of linked to boxing. And it's about the need for violent sports, okay? But I wanted to talk about this whole thing that happened with the vaccine and with the mandates, because I'll be honest, not a lot of people were taking my perspective on this at the beginning of the pandemic. I remember when Fury was being blamed for not being vaccinated, and other boxers were being blamed for not wanting to take the vaccine. Right. And everybody was coming down hard on them. Right. And I was in my lane here on my channel talking about this. And Joe, I know you were doing the same. I was always against the mandate. And I wasn't just against it in boxing. I was against it as a worker myself, because, I didn't want to have to get boosted and vaccinated. But, in New York City, we had to keep our jobs. So actually, I didn't get boosted. I didn't have to do that. But the first 2 I did. And I know it was a similar thing in Massachusetts where you are, Joe. And we caught a lot of heat on panels, in the chats, in the comments. Not a lot of people out there in the YouTube boxing community, the YTBC, were anti-mandate and vaccine like we were. Am I being accurate on that, Joe?
Yeah, I'm against the mandates. I don't think people should be forced to get it. I think there's a lot of healthy people out there that can get COVID and get the antibodies in their system, and they'll definitely build up a tolerance and somewhat of an immunity to it, where just like anything else in history, every time there was a virus, over time, people developed antibodies, and over time, viruses once they've replicated in different variants, they've gotten weaker and weaker over time. And obviously, a lot of people who are, immune compromised and have comorbidities, they're always going to struggle with any type of respiratory type virus. And my heart goes out to them and their families. We understand that. But to make a blanket rule for everybody when we're all not the same, we're all not equal, we're all built in different shapes and sizes. I just don't think that, the kids had to be mandated. I don't think people who didn't have any comorbidities and were in relatively good health, I just didn't think they should have been forced to get the vaccine. Now, I got the vaccine because my job had a rule where you had to get it, and I followed the rule, and it is what it is. But I got COVID before I got the vaccine, so I don't know if I built up some type of tolerance to COVID because of the antibodies that I've developed because I contracted it, or because of the protection from the so-called vaccine. Because there's so much information that came out about the vaccine, and even the president made some statements. The current president made some statements about it, and a lot of the statements that were made and put out there were debunked. But now, when they had the therapeutic remedies that were put out there for the COVID virus, those things were considered misinformation, but a lot of people used those therapeutics and they were able to come out fine after contracting
Well,
COVID.
you know what?
So why is one misinformation and the other is not? Go ahead.
Well, so a big up Cannon by Foreman. All right, that's my guy. And he's right. I mean, he said, Maestro, they forced me to get that shit and I work remotely. Well, yeah, I'm in schools and they made me do it. And J Money, I respect you, brother, but you're a little bit off on this. So he said your employer has the right and the government also has the right to deny employment to you if you're not following vaccination protocols. Here's the thing. I'll be honest. I took the cowardly route out. Actually, wasn't cowardly. I got mortgages.
Cowardly. You just did what you had to do.
I got mortgages to pay, and I didn't want to risk my livelihood, so I volunteered to get I was compelled to get the vaccine. But you know what happened in New York, J Money? They actually took this to the Supreme Court of New York, and they ruled that all of the teachers and firefighters and nurses and doctors and EMS workers and sanitation workers and everybody who was forced to get the vaccine but refused to get it and was fired, well, the Supreme Court in New York actually forced them to be reinstated into their jobs with back pay. So actually, no, that's absolutely not correct. But anyway, somebody sent me this, Joe, and I thought it was pretty funny. And given the fact that we were pretty much unique in this lane, talking and defending people, including fighters that were refusing to get vaccinated, I wanted to share this because I thought it was funny, and we'll get you to react a little bit to it.
You're okay. You're not gonna get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Hey, folks, guess you heard this morning I tested positive for COVID.
And when people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
Dr. Fauci says he has COVID again.
If you've done the right thing and gotten vaccinated, you deserve the freedom to be safe from COVID-19. And this morning, I learned I tested positive for COVID-19 as well.
With 3 doses that you'll be prevented not just from serious illness, but from getting this virus, this Omicron variant, and therefore giving it to others.
Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews is in quarantine for 7 days after testing positive to COVID.
So I'm fully vaccinated. It gives me some comfort.
Anthony Albanese has just tested positive for coronavirus.
Having received 2 doses of AstraZeneca, it's a very effective vaccine, protection from symptomatic illness and therefore risk of transmission to others.
So there you have it, Joe. Leaders of Canada, of the United States, of Australia, all telling people to get vaccinated, all telling them, yeah, you get vaccinated, you're not going to get the virus and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? Every last one of them got COVID-19, as will almost everybody, whether you have the vaccine or not. So all of these people that lost fight purses and all these people that lost their jobs and all these people that got their businesses shut down and foreclosed on and, committed suicide or went through divorce and all kind of issues in their family situation, it was all for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but the way this was just put out there, the vaccine was put together in such a short period of time to make such statements like that and to lead people to believe that by getting it, they had such a strong layer of protection. Is that misinformation? Is that how much testing was actually done on that vaccine that was created in such a short period of time? So is that misinformation?
It's funny that you mention that, Joe, because if you were on Twitter saying that the vaccine doesn't stop you from contracting the virus, you were getting your stuff taken down and your account suspended.
Yeah.
If you were saying that on YouTube, you're getting your video shut down and you're getting a strike against you. So
we already know, it was already proven that Twitter was basically an arm for the Democratic Party at that time. And Schiff was communicating. Adam Schiff was communicating with Twitter, so they were the ones that were orchestrating all that. And Elon Musk has revealed that, and he put that out there. So with Elon Musk owning Twitter, hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to all of the people that lost their jobs and who had fights taken away from them and purses, withdrawn and livelihoods were ruined over this. And yeah, I mean, look, I'll say this now, the vaccine is great for, people that perhaps for people who have lingering health issues and who are susceptible to more severe consequences if they get sick. But that's what we stopped society over for, and put boxing on hold for a while as well, along with a lot of other sports. It is what it is. Joe, anything else you want to discuss today, man? We hit a lot of topics there. We knocked them out the park.
Yeah, I just think people have a right to their own opinion, but I have a right to have an opinion on their opinion. And one thing I will never do is try to silence or censor somebody. And the reason why we talk about this whole situation with the mandates is a lot of information that you were saying and I was saying ended up being true. And it's not like we're smarter than anyone else, but some of the stuff just didn't make sense that was being put out there. Some of the stuff, it was warranted to question it, because it just didn't it just didn't logically make sense, a lot of things that were being told to us. Like, you have an airborne virus out there that's a respiratory virus. And to think that there was a way that you could 100% shield yourself from that and never, ever in your lifetime be exposed to something that's airborne, it's just not logically correct. You could have done all the lockdowns you wanted. All you were doing was just prolonging, or not even prolonging. You were thinking you were prolonging your chance to get the virus. I had no problem with the lockdowns for 2 months because of the influx of hospitalizations from people contracting the virus. I understood that. But to shut places down for a year and a half, it was just morally wrong, in my opinion.
We had all those highly respected scientists sign on to the Great Barrington Declaration that essentially said that, listen, the vulnerable people should have to isolate and everyone else should go along with their business. And then when the vaccine is developed after being tested properly and everything else, you give it to the most vulnerable people in the population, not elite athletes, not healthy workers, not people that need to go about their lives. And that's proven to be true. And what has proven not to be true is the idea that, like you said, Joe, you just lock everything down. And what was crazy to me too is when we were saying this back then, we were getting screamed at. We were getting interrupted. We were getting the hateful comments labeling us XYZ. When all we did was take a very pro-worker, pro-working person, pro-99% stance that let people go about their lives and continue to make make the best of their lives. It's as simple as that.
And the most ironic thing about the whole situation was people that were criticizing us were telling us that we were being manipulated, we were being coerced, we were just drinking the Kool-Aid. But we were in our opinions were statistically insignificant.
You want to know what the question? The problem is everyone is living with their families now. So your point makes no sense. Yeah, but who's to say we wouldn't have been living with our families if we weren't forced to lock down?
Not everyone is living with their families, because even with all of these protocols and precautions in place, look at all the people that died. So that's a very selfish statement you just made. Everyone's living with their families now. Tell that to the people in New York that had all those people in the nursing homes that died because of Governor Cuomo. Tell that to them people that lost all their loved ones in the nursing home because of Governor Cuomo, who was supposed to be the best governor during these COVID protocols.
Tens of thousands of people.
So don't make a blanket statement, because you don't know who died and who didn't die. You don't know.
100% lives were ruined.
Lives were lost, regardless. Because you can't. If you were had a weak immune system. What are you talking about? Statistically, people living more with their families than ever. More people died of COVID in Biden's year than the previous year when Trump was in office.
The funny thing is, as soon as Biden got elected, the death clock stopped, right?
Yeah, they took the death clock.
Death clock was on CNN nonstop when Trump was president. We went from one clown to another clown, but we went from a clown that was semi-coherent to a clown.
What is?
I can't even make sense of what this dude's saying half the time.
What does that? What does that mean? Statistically, people are living with their families more than ever. So, was there ever a time people weren't living with their family? What does that mean? Like, was there a time that people were just leaving their families and they weren't living with them anymore? Like, what is that? What is that?
I mean, if he's spent time in any major U.S. city, he'll know that there's been a destruction of the traditional nuclear family, left, right, and center. Divorce rates are higher than they've ever been in our society. Single parents are higher than they've ever been in our society.
So statistically, people are not living with their families right now. They're broken.
I don't really understand that.
And, so let me just say this. Statistically, your statistics are not real. Statistically, they're false.
This is true. So let's true Maestro Grievous. Let's go to Tony P. Big up Tony P. That's my guy Tony P. Big up Tony P. Make sure you check out Tony P on The Breakdown. All right, which is on the Undefeated Podcast Network. That's with my guys Travis J and KG the comedian. You know that they're very well-known guys out there in the UK, and they got one of the best shows going. And they got another great show with Base the Kid and Tony P every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, you got to make sure you check them out. Sometimes they go a little bit later if there's like a football match on. But here we go. I was interviewed twice by national press here in the UK about my reticence to accepting the jab. Both articles were stopped at editorial stage. The Daily Mail was one of them. Wow.
Yeah, because Boris Johnson was pro vaccine, so he wasn't gonna allow that to happen.
Well, I mean, all of these corporations have made out like bandits, and who are the people that have suffered because of it? Working people. You know, like I felt forced to take the vaccine. I mean, they told me if I didn't take it, I was going to lose my job, which is what they ended up doing.
You didn't feel forced. You were forced. Yeah. What do you mean you felt forced? You were forced. I was forced.
I was forced. And,
I was given no choice.
And when I was on different shows, different panels, or even on my own show, on my own channel, just exercising my First Amendment right and my opinion, I was getting labeled all kinds of MAGA this, which I'm not. I don't know how you could be, unless MAGA means Marxist, I don't know how I'm MAGA, okay? I just don't like Biden. I think he's corrupt, all right? I think his entire party's corrupt. I think both parties are corrupt, all right? And I think both parties don't further the interests of working men like me and Joe and our families and working people, men and women. So it's not MAGA to say that I don't think people should lose their jobs to not to be over an untested, unscientifically proven vaccine. So, So Base the Kids corrected me. The breakdown is now regularly scheduled at 4 p.m. Eastern, 16 hours military time. Okay. So there you go. Make sure you check them out at that time. Those are my guys. All right. So yeah, look, recapping the show. I don't know why people are ignoring this case of hit and run with Tank Davis. A trial is scheduled in February that's definitely going to interfere with any potential fight with Ryan Garcia in the spring. Just do the math. Unless he's going to be going to court every day and then going to train at the same time, I don't know how that fight's going to happen. And by the way, I think he's going to be found guilty because
there's no way he's not going to jail.
He already admitted his guilt by agreeing to a plea agreement that was then rejected by a judge because it didn't include significant time behind bars. All right, it's 14 counts. When you add up the years, it's a bare minimum of 5 to 7 years. So the idea that he'd get away with not doing any time behind bars, Stop it. So the idea that he's going to train during this trial, then win the trial, and then do a tank fight, how is that going to happen? So we talked about that. We talked about the media kind of just sweeping this whole situation under the rug. We played an interview with Brian Custer, and we're very critical of it because it deserved to be criticized. Okay. It was a PR stunt that flopped on its face as far as I'm concerned. And then we talked about AJ needing a tune-up to take on Dillian White, who himself is a tune-up and just fought a tune-up. And then now we wrapped it up here talking about our disagreement with vaccine mandates throughout the pandemic, how we were yelled at, criticized, slandered, and attempted shaming. All right, but we've proven to be right at the end of the day. Go for it, Joe.
And people are going to still say what they're going to say. They're going to fall victim to being misled by the powers that be, right? I know some people like to call it the Matrix, but call it whatever you want. There is the people up there that seem to have all the money and the influence, and they're able to push out information, and they control the media, I believe, and they can, I think the government and the media are one and the same, and particularly the liberal media and the
corporate liberal media.
The corporate liberal media. I think they work the government, people that subscribe to that group. I think the corporal liberal politicians work hand in hand with the media, and I think that they're controlling what's being put out there right now to us. And at the very least, I'm not saying that they can't say what they want to say, but at least let us say what we want to say, and at least let us have an alternate opinion on what they're saying, because right now we're being forced to absorb certain information, and it's almost like we're being controlled, and they're trying to manipulate us, and it's not a good thing when you're being manipulated.
I agree 100%. If you don't know, well, you better know. This was a Punchlines. I'm Maestro. This is my guy Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter Live. Okay, you got to make sure you tune in. Ringside Reporter Live every Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Joe also goes lives at various other times throughout the week when a topic dictates that he should. Again, this is Punchline.
Gorilla than the planet of the apes. I write a punchline and plant it on your face. Eat a punch that you ain't even got to taste. Here's a shot that you ain't even got to chase.
I think we'll leave it on that one, Joe, right?
That's it, man. Peace out to everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, consider joining a membership, and make sure you do all of those things to every video on Mr. Joe Habib's channel, Ringside Reporter Live. And do it on the way out. Hit that like button right now, everybody. All right, hit that subscribe button right now if you're not already subscribed. I might later on tonight do a live watch along for Tank Davis, Hector Garcia. I don't quite even know what I'm going to do about that fight yet. Joe, are you buying the fight?
Yeah, I'll probably buy it, man.
There you go.
I'm a low life, man.
We all know we're gonna watch the fight. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. Again, stay tuned for more content here. This is MaestroA, aka the real knowledge. Okay, aka Master Knowledge, aka the knowledge. I didn't give myself that name. People in the undefeated podcast community anointed me with that name, and I had a back and forth with the artist formerly known as the Knowledge. His name is Spencer Fearon, who said that, guess what, Better Beeb is not a good fighter, and Better Beeb's going to take an L to Anthony Yard.
That fight's this month, right? Is that fight this month?
It's this month.
Oh, that's going to be crazy, man.
Absolutely looking forward because he said he would. So I'm assuming the artist formerly known as the Knowledge is a man of his word, that he'll be back on the Undefeated podcast, Monday Night Smoke, the Monday after the fight. Either he's going to be really wrong or I'm going to be really wrong. It's as simple as that. So, Tony, I did that one for you. You know that was for you, Tony. But again, thank you so much, everyone. That's going to be it. We're up out of here. Thank you. You guys take care. Have a good Saturday.